Thousands of people have been displaced by the fighting. These families have been fleeing from Aleppo and the area around Idlib. They've sought safety at a camp at Maarat, al-Ikhwan, north of Idlib. The latest violence has led to Syria's largest wave of people escaping fighting in 6 years. More than 10,000 families are believed to have been displaced.
I left with my children and family along with all these people because of the escalating attacks and shelling. We left and became displaced in this area, and hopefully we will go back home safely. We lived a tragic life in the village due to the rockets, shelling and airstrikes from the planes on one side and the drones on another side. Our children were terrified.
We are following news of the battle, and God willing, the regime will fall. We're counting the days before we can return because the kids are tired and shocked. So we left and came here with our clothes on and nothing else. God willing, we will be victorious over Bashar al-Assad's regime and return to our area safely.
Well, before the latest fighting, Syria already had the largest refugee crisis in the world, with more than 14 million Syrians forced to leave their homes. Within Syria, more than 7 million people have been displaced. Neighbouring Turkey hosts over 3 million Syrians who fled there for safety. Fighting and destructive earthquakes hit these communities hard. 70% need humanitarian assistance and 90% live below the poverty line. More than 500,000 people have been killed since the Syrian conflict began in 2011. Emmanuel Isch is the response director at World Vision Syria. It's a humanitarian aid organisation. He's joining us from Amman. So thank you very much indeed for being with us. With regard to what we're seeing and has been happening over the last couple of days or so within northwestern Syria particularly, can you just bring us up to date with what your assessment is in terms of the number of people who are being forced out of their homes?
Yes, thank you. Thank you for having me. Indeed, we are concerned about events of the last few days, in particular how this is impacting civilians. As you mentioned, millions of Syrians are refugees within the region and beyond in northwest Syria. In particular, we have also 2 million people who have been living in temporary conditions for some years. 10,000 families have become displaced in the last couple of days as a result of the fighting that's been going on. As a result, for World Vision and other aid organizations, we've had to suspend some of our activities, especially in the Idlib and Aleppo area, while at the same time we are looking at responding to this newest wave of people who have been displaced, and maybe more to come in the coming days, depending on how the situation unfolds and evolves.
As I was mentioning before, according to the figures that we had, 70% of people were already needing humanitarian assistance, where, of course, your organisation would come into play. 90% of them, people also living below the poverty line. When you say that organisations like yours have to suspend their operations, what kind of things are being affected?
What's been affected is access to health services, supporting clinics. We've done that for a number of years. Schools being closed, children not being able to go to school. Also continuing to provide access to clean water, sanitation, protection for children. So these are the range of activities that we've been doing for years. And for a number of them, we've had to put them on hold for now. So the longer this continues, the more this will impact people that we're trying to support and to serve in different parts of northwest Syria.
If the fighting continues, and obviously if there is a retaliation, as we've already started to see, by Russian forces, but also by Syrian forces, possibly Iranian forces as well, what are your concerns for the people who have been forced to leave their homes and are now living in these camps? We did see before in the previous conflict, when it was at its most intense, that they were almost regularly targeted when it came to the fighting.
Well, there could be issues around access. Right now for northwest Syria, we depend on humanitarian aid crossing the border from Turkey. This may be impacted. People may not have too many options in terms of where they may go and where they may end up. We may not be in a position to support them or assist them right away. So the more instability is created, the more such issues we may have moving forward.
We mentioned before that Turkey is hosting about 3 million Syrians. What are your concerns that people are going to again attempt to cross over Syria's borders into other countries in order to be able to escape the fighting if it does continue?
That could certainly be a possibility. So people will try to go where they believe they may be the safest, whether it is across the border or other parts of the region.
And just finally, in terms of the aid that you're able to supply, who do you negotiate with? What are the logistics of providing that aid? Is it the Syrian government? Is it Russia? Who are the players within that?
We deal with local entities that and the relevant ministries where they are operational. So whether it is in the health side or the education side. So we have arrangements in place that allow us to do these activities within a certain range. And that's how we are able to operate.
Emmanuel Isch, we appreciate you being with us on Al Jazeera, sir. Thank you very much indeed.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel to get the latest news from Al Jazeera.